Hi everyone, so I thought I would film while my baby snails are being cleaned out, and I thought I would show you them trying some new food. All it is just a slightly different variation of the snail mix that I make and some red pepper, because I'd heard that they can eat red pepper and it's like a good sort of natural um, dewormer, parasite remover type thing. Not that they've got any parasites, but I thought it might be worth them sort of getting used to the taste of it in case they ever need to have it. So yeah, this is the baby snails. It's an update as well. And as you can see, they're doing quite well. They're starting to get bigger. I can't remember how old they are now. I'd have to work it out. But this was filmed a few days ago. So they're a bit older than that now. And yeah, it's actually getting easier to find them, even though they do burrow a lot. So it does take me a little second to find them, but it is a bit easier. I'm still keeping them in the tub they're in now. I don't want to put them in a bigger one just yet because I'm still growing them up. And obviously if I put them in a bigger container, they've got to roam around more at the night time to find their food. And this container's fine for up to almost the first year anyway, depending on how fast they grow. Because you want them to have a slightly more confined space when you grow, because all they want to do at the minute is eat, go to sleep, grow, and then wake up the next day and eat some more. So yeah, so here I am just finding them all. I find the bigger ones like to burrow deeper, and I do have to check that they have all of them, which sometimes I'm not sure how many I've got left, whether it's 7 or 8, but it is 8. 2 are still smaller than the others. But like I said, because I'm not breeding from these and these are my pets, I'll still keep the little ones. Obviously, if you were breeding, you would cull the small ones because obviously they're genetically inferior. But I'm keeping them because there's only 8 of them and they're my babies. So what I tend to do first of all is spray them with a bit of water just to wake them up a little bit and give them a drink while I clean out their tank. And what I do when I clean the tank is basically just remove anything off the surface like poops and old food or anything like that. Give the soil a bit of a stir up and spray it with water to make sure it's still moist. You want the water, you want the soil to be damp enough that when you squeeze it, it'll stick together. But then when you drop it into the tank, it falls apart really easy. So there's a little bit of moisture in it, but not too much. And then I added in, they've got this little tray now. It's off a little pin badge, like a little box that I had a pin badge in. And what I do is I fill that up with the calcium powder that's sprayed with a little bit of water. So it's like a calcium biscuit but in a container. I find this makes it last a bit longer without it absorbing as much moisture as it would if it was just directly on the soil. And they seem to prefer it. I'm trying them with cuttlefish. I still keep putting a piece of cuttlefish in their tank, but they've not really been eating it yet. So I think it's probably still a little bit too hard for them, or because they're so small I can't tell. So I'm going to leave the piece of cuttlefish in the tank as well and just see if it goes down over time, just to give me an indication of whether they like it or not. If not, it's perfectly fine. As these grow up, they can continue having calcium biscuits. That's no problem whatsoever. But yeah, it's just the cuttlefish. I can leave it. I mean, I leave the cuttlefish in the tank, and it lasts a bit longer. That's the only difference, really, because it takes them a bit longer to grind it down. It just means I'd have to replace the calcium biscuits a bit more often, but that's no bother. And then I'm putting in a mixture of salad leaves. I've got, is it romaine lettuce or something like that? I can't remember what it's called now. It's like a mixed bag, and you can see just at the top of the screen there, you've got the little dish with the calcium powder in, and then the piece of cuttlefish next to it. And then I got a piece of red pepper for them to try to see what they think about it. They can eat it. It's supposed to be like a good thing to give them if you've got like parasites or anything. Mine haven't got anything wrong with them, but I thought I'll just try it and see if they like it. Apparently it's a food that's something they can eat. I wouldn't give it to them all the time, but it is something that they can eat. And in their home as well, I'm also putting in some little bits of sweet corn, and seeing what they think about it. The bigger ones like this sort of baby sweet corn, that's still on the cob. Especially Rick. Rick really likes that. I've found the babies like the odd little bit of sweet corn, but they're not too bothered. But when you're trying a new food with them, it's one of them where you need to sort of give it them regularly and just see, and they'll get used to it. It's like when you give a child new food, at first they probably won't touch it or they'll just turn their noses up at it. But then over time, as they learn that new flavour and learn, oh, that is food, you find that they will like more stuff. It's a good way of making sure that your snail's diet is varied by keep introducing these new foods. Just obviously make sure the foods are on the safe foods list for African land snails. So do your research first. And yeah, it's just one of them where it's worth introducing stuff and trying new stuff, because you might find that they get a bit bored of one food and start leaving it, and then you can transfer them to something else. And also it's good for them to have vitamins and minerals from different foods. So it's always worth trying new stuff. I put a bit of lettuce in as well for them. They were a bit sleepy at this point, so I wasn't expecting them to move much. But a little bit of spray with water and some food normally gets them moving after a little bit. But to be fair, I mean, they were fast asleep when I cleaned them out when I filmed this, so I wasn't expecting them to sort of rouse up too much. I find the two smaller ones tend to come out more early evening. They don't tend to come out much in the day, but the big ones will pop out now and again during the day, have a little snack and go back to sleep. But they do pretty much spend most of the time, they'll eat until they're full and then they go to sleep until the evening, then eat some more. So I wasn't too worried that they didn't come out. So what I did in the end was I did put a piece of the red pepper in their tank just to see what they'd do with it. They have nibbled it, not loads, obviously a little bit. But yeah, so that's always, like I said, I'm going to keep trying new foods so I can give them a variety. And what I also put on the dish in a bit, which you'll see, is just a slight different variation of the snail mix I was giving them. I've found that all of my snails have gone off mealworms randomly. So now what I'm doing is I'm making some snail mix with, there's no mealworms in it. So there are some oat flakes, not too many, fish food flakes, and ground up sunflower seeds. When I can grind them up, and this mixture that I'm trying them with has got the oat flakes. It's mostly fish food flakes, and there was something else, I can't think what the other thing I added, and then obviously I put a bit of water in. This one had still got the odd little bit of mealworm in just to see, but I found now what'll happen is my big snails, they'll eat the snail mix, and if the mealworm is like the dried mealworm's ground up really, really small, they'll eat it. But if it's a slightly bigger chunk, I tend to find that they'll have eaten everything apart from the mealworms in the snail mix. So it's quite funny how there's just these mealworms left on the dish afterwards once they've been nibbling. So I'm going to vary the mixture slightly. I did make one before with some cat biscuits in. It was all the cat biscuits were made out of snail safe foods. And I know you can make one out of dog biscuits. The only thing is I didn't like the smell. But the fish food flakes will give them the protein anyway, so I'm not too worried. But I do want to try some new recipes and things. and see what else I can try with them, because it is important that they have the snail mix each week, because they need that good source of protein as well as obviously all the veggies and stuff that they have. So in the end, what I did was, because they weren't particularly lively this day, I put some of the snail mix in with the calcium powder in the little dish, and I found they scoffed the lot then. They really liked it. And because obviously they're going to have a high demand for calcium at the moment, because they are growing their shells and they're growing in size and they're getting bigger each week. And especially as the weather warms up now, they'll start growing a lot faster. So obviously they need all that calcium. So I do find they get through that calcium powder a lot quicker now, which is why I've put the cuttlefish in to see if they'll go for that. So yeah, as you can see, one of the snails is out having a little look at the lettuce. They hadn't had lettuce for ages, because it's not something I would give them regular. Like normally it's mixed salad leaves, so that they get like a variety and veggies. But every so often as a treat they'll either get some lettuce or some cucumber, which it's not got loads of nutrients in for them, but they do like it, so it's a nice little treat. So that one with this sort of slightly lighter shell is busy nibbling on some lettuce and having a look. The others were not convinced it was time to come out yet, but I did put some lettuce just on the edge there because the other snail was coming out. I think, is that one Sliming? It's kind of hard to tell now. What I'm going to have to do is take a picture of each snail up close so I can see the markings on the shell, and then also compare sizes. I think the one that's out and investigating about to investigate the piece of lettuce is Sliming, and then his brother is asleep. And what I need your help with as well is to think of some names for them, because I've only named one, so I need 7 other names. So if you've got any other ideas for names for the babies, then let me know. I didn't name them up until now because I was like, I don't really want to name them if they don't survive. I'd rather name them if I know that there's a good chance now that they're going to live a full snail life. So now it's time for them to have names. So if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments, and I'll pick some names, and I'll take some close-up photographs of each one and look at their markings and stuff so I can actually identify them a bit better. I know some people will paint like a little dot on the shell or something, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to introduce anything into the tank that's not natural, so I don't really want to put marker pen or nail polish on the shells to identify the snails. I'd rather do it based on the markings that are naturally on the shell, and I know they're going to change over time, but as they get bigger it is easier to identify the differences between them. Oh yeah, there you go, you can see Sliming is investigating the piece of lettuce I'm holding now. I do this as well because it's important that they get comfortable around me, that they learn I'm not some big scary thing that's going to eat them. And if you keep doing this, you'll find as they get bigger, you can hold them in your hand and they'll come out of their shell. Otherwise, if they're scared, if you hold them in your hand, they'll just be inside the shell and you won't really get to sort of hold them or get a close-up look. So it is important to have that contact with them and just let them know, you know, if I'm here, it means food, it means nice things, it doesn't mean anything scary. So that's what I'm doing here, is just getting Sliming to try some lettuce while I hold it. It's important as well, no fast movements. I find if you move quite quickly, they'll all flinch and they'll hide, because even though their vision is very low, they can detect that sudden movement of a shadow that goes across their field of vision, and that tends to freak them out. So it's important to not sort of do fast sudden movements. Just take it nice and steady, sit calmly with them, and they'll get used to you. Here I'm just turning the snails around so they can see that the snail mix is there. Normally the snail mix convinces them to poke their head out and have a little nibble, so that's what I'm doing here. just to see if they'll eat some. But like I said, in the end I put it in the tank anyway. So yeah, this was me trying some new foods with them. So it was a slightly different lettuce. It was the red pepper, and yeah. And as you can see, the lettuce was a success. And obviously, as you can see as well, once you get them on a piece of lettuce, you can hold them on the piece of lettuce, and then they'll come out and have a little look around. Obviously, I freaked Simon out a bit by picking him up, but as you can see, his little eye comes out quite quick, and he has a little look around, and he'll start coming back out. They get more and more confident over time, and obviously gave me a chance to clean his shell as well. So yeah, the babies are doing great. I'm quite pleased with them. I'm happy with how they're doing. And as you can see, they're gaining size and weight, and they do when I hold them now, I can feel the weight of them now. So they've definitely put weight on, which is good. The only snail I'm slightly worried about is Rick. He's lost weight. He definitely feels lighter when I pick him up. Like if I pick up Alvin and I pick up Rick, I can tell that Alvin's nearly heavier than Rick. But I think it's age, and he's just sort of deteriorating a bit. But he seems to still be eating and everything, so I'm not too panicked. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.